I'm Linda Elsiegood, founder of the LDN Research Trust. It has been my honour to interview LDN researchers, prescribers, pharmacists and patients from around the world for many conditions. Thank you for joining us. This evening I'm joined by Claire from New Zealand, who uses LDN for fibromyalgia, connective tissue disease and restless leg syndrome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we would be really interested in hearing your story. When did you first become sick? How old were you?
So I first got sick when I was sort of 12 or 13, and I was diagnosed with celiac disease. And that took quite a while to come to a diagnosis. So I was quite relieved when we finally had the reason that I was missing school for 6 months with tummy pain. And since then I've followed a strictly gluten-free diet. And then around about 4 years ago, I got a headache on the right side of my face, and my inflammatory marker blood tests were elevated, but we couldn't figure out what was wrong because the only symptom I had was a headache. And eventually that went away, or improved anyway, and I had just changed jobs to something better, and the headache came back, and along with it came joint pain, joint swelling, extreme fatigue, shortness of breath, hair loss, mouth ulcers, and butterfly rash on my nose and cheeks. And that took quite a while, so I was about 26 then when that happened. Yeah, so it took quite a while to get a diagnosis because we were pursuing the headache route. So I saw a neurologist and he couldn't really come up with anything. And then a few months after that, it was really obvious that there was something else going on. So I saw a rheumatologist and I was diagnosed with connective tissue disease. So that went on for 18 months, and I was on, by that point I was on prednisone upwards of 20 milligrams a day, immunosuppressants, Plaquenil, which is pretty stock standard treatment for autoimmune disease, tramadol, sleeping tablets, whatever I could do to ease the pain. And eventually, after a whole lot of trial with immunosuppressants, the inflammatory markers settled down, but my pain didn't. And so the blood tests were telling me that I should be feeling better, but I was feeling worse. So I changed rheumatologists and saw a lady in Christchurch who, this was all in the private system, so I didn't see anyone publicly. I was paying myself, so figured that I could go wherever I wanted. So saw a new rheumatologist in Christchurch who was a little bit more proactive and felt that I had some elements of fibromyalgia, or central sensitization was what she called it, which was contributing to the pain that I was feeling without the mechanism for pain. So there was no swelling and things anymore where I was experiencing the pain, but the pain was still the same as if it was. So it took a wee while before we got to the low-dose Naltrexone, and I hadn't heard of that before. And I was sitting in a clinic appointment with her, and she said, "Oh, I've got an idea. Why don't we try this?" And she wrote low-dose Naltrexone down on the piece of paper. And I said to her, "Well, that sounds all well and good, but that means I have to stop my pain relief," which at the time was codeine, because I'd finally got off the tramadol, which was a real nightmare and a whole nother story. And I was stuck on codeine mainly for the restless legs, actually, because that was the only thing that was giving me any relief. So I said, yeah, low-dose Naltrexone sounds awesome, but I obviously can't take any pain relief, I can't treat the restless legs. So I was a bit nervous, and she said, well, there's not really much I can do. If you want to try the treatment, you need to stop the codeine. So she knew that I was a nurse, so she sent me a couple of articles, emailed me a couple of research articles about the use of low-dose Naltrexone in chronic pain and fibromyalgia. So I'd read those and thought, yeah, this sounds really good. Did a little bit more research and went on to the Trust website, I think, and read about the treatment of restless legs with it, and also autoimmune diseases as well as the fibromyalgia. So by this point I wasn't working, and I was working 10 hours a week, and I was really desperate. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stop the codeine, and I'm just going to take the Naltrexone and see what happens, because I really didn't, I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what else to do. I managed to reduce the codeine to, well, not very much. We sort of thought that I'd need quite a period between stopping codeine and starting the Naltrexone, but in the end we just left it 24 hours. That was the best I could do with the restless legs, because I didn't really need it for pain. Like the codeine wasn't helping my fibromyalgia pain at all. I was just dependent on the codeine to stop my restless legs so I could sleep. So we did a 24-hour break, and that seemed to be fine. And from what I know now, that's okay.
What I would like to do now is follow your story from when you started LDN. Did you notice any sleep disturbance or vivid dreams or anything else? And when did you start to notice improvements, and what were those improvements?
Cool. Okay. So I started Albion in March of this year, and the first night I took it, I slept really well, so that was exciting, and I didn't have any restless legs, and obviously I wasn't taking anything to treat the restless legs, so I was really excited. So the first night was awesome. I started at 4.5 milligrams, so that was my first dose, which I now realised was quite high to start with, but I didn't know better at the time. So I started at 4.5. First night was good. Second night I got the restless legs back, but I noticed an improvement in my energy, just a subtle improvement. Third night, I think I maybe had 2 hours sleep. Same with the next few nights. So I had pretty intense insomnia for around about a week, just over a week. I didn't have any vivid dreams at the time, but I do have the occasional vivid dream, and that's something that has come from my childhood as well. So my dreams are usually scary. They involve someone dying, and I wake up as if the person has died in the same emotional state as I would be as if it had happened in real life. So that happened to me before I started the Naltrexone, and I maybe get one of those dreams a month, and that's probably the same frequency as I had before. So the dreams are not any different. The insomnia went away after the first week, just over the first week, and I did slowly notice an improvement in energy. My restless legs were gone basically from that second night onwards. No more restless legs. No more tingling in my feet or in my hands. No more itchy skin down the nerves. And this was usually at night that I'd notice these symptoms, and it would keep me awake, and it would be really quite awful. For those people who suffer from restless legs, there's not a lot worse, really, when you just want to go to sleep and you can't. So that basically went instantly. The pain and the fatigue and other things like heat intolerance have taken a lot longer to improve, but they have definitely improved. I haven't changed my dose at all. I've just stayed on 4.5. I don't skip any nights. I might forget the odd one, but I don't skip it intentionally. And I use capsules that are formulated by a pharmaceutical compounding company in Auckland, so I don't make it up myself. I think the main reason that I wanted to talk to you was just the change in my health over the sort of the last 6 months or 7 months since I started taking the LDN, because I was dependent on tramadol and then dependent on codeine. I was taking a sleeping tablet every night. I was taking low-dose chemotherapy tablets, a much higher dose of prednisone. That was in March, February, March, and now I'm off all of that, and I'm trying to have a baby. And that just, I wouldn't have thought that was possible, that would be possible to start the year. Wow. Feeling like I just had made no progress in the last 3 or 4 years. and when on earth was I going to get better?
Mm.
Like I was quite accepting that, okay, I might not get any better, and like I've done a lot of work mentally, and I was okay with that. But to now be in this position where I'm trying to get pregnant, just so I don't have any other kids, so I was feeling time was ticking, even though I'm 29, there's still time, but at the same time there's not. So yeah, that's what prompted me to talk to you. I mean, Albion is not a miracle drug, as I hear all the time. It definitely isn't, and I still have bad days, and I still have pain. And for me, I'm at the point where I can cook tea, and I can clean the house, and I can work 10 to 15 hours a week, and it's not a huge amount compared to normal, but it's a massive change compared to the start of the year.
Mm-hmm. If we can go back to the start of the year, and if you could rate your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, at your darkest point, what would it have been?
Well, that's hard because I had physical symptoms, but the rest of my life was really good. So I wasn't depressed or unhappy or sad. I was happy. I was just in physical discomfort. So yeah, if I look at it from my physical health, it was probably, I don't know, a 2. I really couldn't do anything I wanted to do. Yeah, I couldn't do my own garden. I couldn't cook my own dinner if I worked.
What about now on that score of 1 to 10? What would you say it is?
It's a long way from normal still, because I used to play a lot of sport and work full time, and I was doing my master's degree. So that would be normal, but I would say I've readjusted my what a 10 is, and I would say that now my quality of life is probably a 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. I no longer have the goal to work full time and play lots of sport and do my masters. Those things have changed. My priorities have changed. I'm happy to just be able to spend time with my friends, walk my dog, and cook my own tea.
You're certainly right there. I think we do adjust and find ways in which we can accomplish things in a different way than you do when you're healthy. Yeah, I totally get that. But to reduce that number of medications, just imagine what that cocktail of drugs was actually doing to your organs. To suddenly to be taking LDN, which isn't harmful, is amazing, isn't it? No,
I feel very lucky that my rheumatologist said, "Oh, I've got an idea. Let's try this." Yeah, and she'd only had a couple of other patients.
Mm-hmm. Have you been back to see her?
No.
Oh,
not since I started it. No, I haven't. I'm in email contact with her.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not needing her help now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's amazing, isn't it? That's really good.
Very lucky. Yeah. I'm very lucky.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for letting me.
Do you have LDN experience to share? If so, please email me, linda@ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you.